And Tim Kurkjian covers baseball for ESPN, which means, Tim, for you, going everywhere. Because I'm going through the lunchroom at Wrigley Field on Saturday, and there you are. What the heck was that all about?
Well, I did the national radio game on Saturday with Sean Kelly from Wrigley Field. So I went in on Friday, did a little reconnaissance, did the game on Saturday, then took a car to the airport, Buster. You'll be proud of me. I didn't have a printed boarding pass, and I figured out how to get the boarding pass on my phone. And I went all the way through security with the boarding pass on my phone, and I made it to the gate with like 15 minutes before the flight started to board. So at age 65, this is called a gigantic win in my life, is I knew I didn't have time to go get my printed boarding pass. So I did it all by myself, all on my phone. I must say that was a huge accomplishment for me.
I know. You were referenced this morning. There was a text chain among all the Sunday Night Baseball people. And Carl Rabbit said, yeah, I'm here at the airport 3 hours ahead of time.
Yeah, look, I have a problem with the airport, Buster. I'm just not missing a plane because I get nervous, but I've got the clear, I've got the cream and the clear. I've got TSA pre. I should be just flying right through, but I just always feel like something's going to go wrong. And yet everything went wrong on Saturday afternoon trying to catch the last flight to Bristol. And I made it. And I did it with everything on my phone instead of a paper ticket in my hand.
So I walked away from Wrigley Field last night with two distinct impressions. One, Patrick Wisdom, who wore the microphone for us last night and worked through some technical issues. He couldn't hear a lot of what the questions that were being posed to him from the booth. After the game, Tim, he stopped me as he's leaving the dugout after the Cubs lose the game, and he thanked me for the opportunity that ESPN gave for him to wear the microphone. And, you know, I had talked to him before, but I walked away from this weekend thinking, A, he's the nicest guy that I think I've met in baseball. He was great to deal with. And the other distinct impression I walked away from this weekend was the St. Louis Cardinals are a really, really good team, and they have a chance to get even better by the end of the year. What do you think of those two?
Well, we'll start with Patrick Wisdom. I couldn't agree more. He's a really smart guy. I had a nice chat with him on Friday. He was signing autographs for every single person that came by pregame. It was really nice, and I just thought I'd have a little fun with him because I got assigned to do the all dental team since his last name is Wisdom. Of course, it didn't run on Sunday Night Baseball, and then I had to do the all smart team, not like the smartest players, but names that have something to do with intelligence. He was on that team too. So I shared a couple of the ridiculous findings that I made on the all dental and the all smart team. And instead of him just looking at me like you are an unfathomable geek, he enjoyed it. And he was I think he actually was honored that he was on the two stupidest lists ever put together. But he is a really good guy. He's a really smart guy. And once he gets the ball airborne, as David Ross told me, it stays airborne. He's got some tremendous power.
And what about the Cardinals?
Oh, sorry. The Cardinals are really good, Buster. They're an elite defensive team when everyone's together. The two corner infielders are going to win an MVP some year, and maybe Goldschmidt wins one this year. Their bullpen is much better than people think it is. That Ryan Hensley guy is just ridiculous, the numbers he's had. And Genesis Cabrera, who pitched the last 4 innings. When's the last time you saw a reliever pitch the last 4 innings of a National League game? Granted, everything's changed with no DH. That was absurd. And, Wainwright didn't strike anybody out and was really good again last night. I'm still not sure they have enough oomph to win a World Series in their lineup, but they're a very good team. And I would be really surprised if they didn't make the playoffs. And seeing that the Brewers still have offensive issues, I think there's a chance the Cardinals could win the division. And I wasn't sure about that, say 2 months ago.
Yeah, a month ago, I was feeling really stupid about my pick of the Cardinals to win the division. But after seeing them this weekend, I'm feeling smarter, in part, Tim, because I love that group of young players that they're indoctrinating into the big leagues and getting them all settled in. Because, man, like Brendan Donovan last night, his defensive performance was just remarkable. Like, they have a lot there, and it does feel like that you have this great energy between those old guys who are on their way out and the young guys who are on the way in.
Right. Juan Yepes, he can really hit, Buster.
Yep.
I mean, I know he just had a 1 for 19, but he got a big hit last night. He runs over and talks to Albert Pujols after every at bat just to make sure, he saw the right things up there. Donovan is a utility player that wherever you put him, he seems to do something really well. And the throw he made was tremendous. He's not an outfielder, and he made a great throw. I'm very impressed with that. And they're in between guys, in between Yadier and Pujols and the really young guys, the Tommy Edmonds of the world. Now, there's another really good baseball player there. His shift from second base to shortstop. We know he's a shortstop in college, so it's not like a huge shift, but he's handled that beautifully. And I'm telling you, Nolan Gorman, he doesn't just have great power, Buster. And I know there's a lot of swing and miss there, but everyone who sees him says the same thing. That guy's got a good idea what he's doing at the plate. He's not just, as Buck Showalter said, some big hairy guy who can hit it a long way. He can keep those hands back against the left-hander and hit a ground ball hard up the middle. He can do that, and I really like what I see from the Cardinals.
Yeah, I agree. They were impressive. There's no doubt about it. And they got guys working their way back. Tyler O'Neill coming through his minor league rehab. Probably within a week, he's going to be back on the field in the big leagues. And Jack Flaherty's making progress, and he's going to be back sometime soon. We'll see, how good he is when he comes back. That probably is the big question for me about the Cardinals. How good is their starting pitching matched up against great teams in the postseason? So we'll definitely be keeping an eye on them. All right, I've got 4 developments in recent days that I want you to rank in order of postseason relevance. Okay, number 1, the Yankees continue to win. They're 39-15. Number 2, the world champion Atlanta Braves have had their first real winning streak, having swept the Rockies. The Angels continue to lose every day. It's remarkable how this team has utterly collapsed. And number 4, the Phillies haven't lost since they fired their manager, Joe Girardi, replacing him with interim Rob Thompson. Which one of those 4, and we're going to cover all these, which one of those 4 is most important for you in terms of postseason relevance?
Are you going to yell at me when I do this the wrong way?
Of course I'm going to. I'm going to start right now.
All right. Well, the number 1 thing for me is the Yankees winning. I think the Yankees pitching is maybe not as good as it's been lately, but it's really good, Buster. I told you, I sat down with Aaron Boone in spring training. I ran through his starting rotation. I got to the 5th starter, and I said, Nestor Cortez, he's the 5th guy, right? And Booty looked at me like, 5th guy? He's going to make the All-Star team. This was in March. And Nestor's been like the best pitcher in the American League so far. It's been unbelievable. So I really like where they're pitching. Buster, they went 3 games and allowed a total of 6 hits in 3 games. Granted, against the Tigers, who are not a good offensive team. Point is, Severino's back. Tyone's really good. Montgomery pitches pretty well almost every time out. Cole's as good a pitcher as there is in the league. And Cortez might be the Cy Young winner so far after 2 months. So I really like their pitching. So I'm going to put the Yankees winning as the number 1 story that has postseason relevance.
And they're on a pace at 39-15, a third of the way through the season, to win 117 games. That's how well they're playing. And Tim, what I like from the Yankees' perspective is that, they're not a perfect team, even though they have this great 1-loss record. And the issues that they have potentially, if they decide to move on beyond Joey Gallo and decide to flip him back out into the marketplace and replace him because maybe he's not a great fit for New York, or Aaron Hicks, or maybe they decide they want to have an option to upgrade their offensive catcher. The great thing from the Yankees' perspective is those are all really fixable problems. Like if you decide you're the Yankees, look, this is a great team, but we want to try to upgrade with Gallo, you can call the Kansas City Royals about Andrew Benintendi. And that, moving forward, to me is a really important factor with this team. Do you agree?
Oh, I totally agree. The problems are fixable, and their infield defense, Buster, is so much better. I don't care what anyone says. Whoever you put behind the plate is an upgrade over anything they had or Gary Sanchez last year. Rizzo every day at first. Glaber at second is where he belongs, of course. Connor Falefa is a very good defensive shortstop, and Josh Donaldson at third, when he's right, he's good there too. And I've seen it, Buster, 100 times in all the years I've covered. When a pitcher has faith, if I put it in the grass here, something good's going to happen. They throw strikes and good things happen. That's what's happened to the Yankees pitching staff this year. They're really good, and they're supremely confident that at least in the infield, the ball's going to get caught behind them.
All right, Braves, Angels, Phillies. Where do we go next?
All right, I'm going Braves next, Buster. We can't forget that on August 6th last year, they were under 500, and then they took off and won the World Series. They just have a way of finding that gear when they need it. And again, no Freddie Freeman, that's going to hurt, but Matt Olson started to swing it again. Acuna Jr. had a homer after going 17 games without one. I think they're pretty darn good. I'm not saying they're not going to beat the Mets in that division, but they could make the playoffs. So I'm going to say the Braves are the number 2 team on this list to have postseason expectations.
I completely agree with you. I want to disagree with that. I want to yell at you, Tim. But you know what? I agree with you. I don't think they're going to catch the Mets in the NL East, but I think that they absolutely are going to have a chance to repeat as champions. I picked them to go back to the World Series before the year started. You could see them putting it together. And the most important piece is Ronald Acuna Jr. And when you can hit a home run and take 30 seconds going around the bases, that tells you he's feeling pretty good about himself. All right, Angels or Phillies?
All right, I'm gonna take the Angels, even though I don't like either one of those teams now going to the playoffs. I'm worried for the Angels' sake, Buster. They've lost 11 games in a row. The ERA is slightly over 7 in that time. The bullpen ERA is slightly over 8. The offense was leading the league in runs scored a couple of weeks ago. And then Mike Trout hit an 0 for 26. And Anthony Rendon got hurt again. He's going to be out at least 3 more weeks. Taylor Ward got hurt. Ohtani hasn't been quite the same hitter as last year. The only way that team's going to win is they're going to have to outpitch you. And the way they pitched the first month and a half was great. But Noah Syndergaard has struggled. Even Patrick Sandoval has struggled a little bit here lately. So I don't have the Angels as a playoff team at the moment because I'm not sure the problems that they have can be fixed easily.
Yeah, and they need Mike Trout to turn around. By the way, next Sunday, we've got the Mets and the Angels on Sunday Night Baseball. Mike Trout is scheduled to wear the microphone for us, so that'll be fun. I think it'll be more fun, though, Tim, if he gets a hit between now and Sunday. Would you agree with me?
But, Buster, is this seriously not the most beautiful part of this game, that after Willie Mays, this might be the best, and Hank Aaron, this might be the best player I've ever seen. And he's in an 0 for 26. And I watched him closely yesterday, just on TV. He's taken strike one. He's behind in the count all the time. Give me another sport where the best player that most people have ever seen goes a week and a half without getting a hit. This can't happen in the other sports. No great quarterback completes 30% of his passes. LeBron has a bad game. He scores 16. He's 7-6. Mike Trout's 0 for 26. He's got to get this straightened out, and he will. He's way too good to be in a slump like this.
And lastly, the Philadelphia Phillies, who have not lost a game under their new manager, Rob Thompson, right, since they fired Joe Girardi, a decision which happened right after we got done taping the other day. Tim, could this make a difference?
Well, it already has. I just don't think it's going to make enough of a difference when you have a poor defensive team and you have a bullpen that's not very good. Joe Girardi's right. You have those two problems, it's really, really hard to win. Having said that, yesterday was what I used to call as a beat guy. That was the circle game yesterday, Buster. They had a grand slam to tie it in the 8th and a walk-off in the 9th. I don't believe the Phillies have ever done that quite like that in any game in their history. That's how important that was. And something like that can really build momentum because they were in trouble 4 times in that game and came back to win. But again, the Mets are really good. The Braves are coming. I don't think this is going to be enough for the Phillies. But sometimes the change of voice is, like Dombrowski said, is what is really important. Just remember when Joe Morgan took over the Red Sox many years ago, Jack McKeon took over the Marlins. The team just has a different look and a different feel. So the Phillies are going to play way better than they have to this point. At this point, I just don't think they're going to be good enough to make the playoffs.
Yeah, there's part of me that absolutely feels like that the idea that changing the manager might help is kind of laughable given the construction of the team. I mean, I think you and I, Tim, talk, and look, Nick Castellanos is a great major leaguer, and so is Kyle Schwarber. But when they signed those 2 guys, you're thinking, boy, that defense is going to be challenged. And that was before Bryce Harper hurt his elbow and is relegated to DH. They already had issues at third base. They had some issues at first base. They had some issues at second base. Their shortstop wasn't necessarily the best in the league. And I just don't know, whether it's Tony La Russa or John McGraw or Connie Mack. I don't know if anybody's going to win with that defense. And on the other hand, I have heard stories through the years about how tense Joe Girardi is, and players feel like he kind of wears people down. I think he's a great guy. I think obviously he was a terrific major league player. I think he's a great baseball guy, but you know what? Rob is definitely more relaxed.
Right. And that's exactly what the Phillies needed. And yes, Joe, it'll be the first to tell you he's wound a little bit tight. But go look at his career record as a manager. It's pretty darned impressive. Yep. And I'm not blaming him for this, but I'm also not blaming the Phillies, who haven't been to the playoffs in 100 years, seemingly, for saying, all right, we're in deep trouble now. Maybe a managerial change will shake things up. And for 3 games, it certainly has.
All right, before we go, I want to ask you about what happened with the Tampa Bay Rays over the weekend. Some of the Rays players refused to wear the Gay Pride logo on their uniforms, saying their religious beliefs wouldn't allow it, but also saying they accept everyone. The players, pitchers Jason Adams, Jalen Beeks, Brooks Raley, Jeffrey Springs, Ryan Thompson. Adams basically spoke for the other players, and he said it's a hard decision because ultimately we all said what we want is them to know that all are welcome and loved here. Now, Tim, that statement in itself, when you say, I'm not going to wear the logo, but I want to let everyone know that you're welcome, that's kind of ridiculous. Would you agree with me?
Yeah, Jason Adams was very well spoken in his comments. I was indeed impressed with his use of the language. I'm just not sure that what he said actually works. This is a very complicated subject, and you really can't have it both ways. Even though I was impressed the way he went about it, I'm just not sure the words fit with the actions taken.
I was checking around, and what I got back was that the Rays made the wearing of the logo optional. And I would say going forward that for any team that would be in this position, don't make it optional. Just say, this is your uniform today. And that's by a contractual agreement with the Major League Baseball players, the players who need to wear the uniform. Making it optional, I feel like it was a mistake, Tim. Does that make sense?
Yes, I would have made it mandatory because this is what we're doing today. And you're going to have to put your personal feelings aside for 9 innings and do what I believe is the right thing to do. Look at Kevin Kiermaier's comments from that yesterday's game. He, of course, wore the logo. He said it better than anybody. And I think they should have made it mandatory, and they should have all followed the guy who's been there the longest, Kevin Kiermaier.
Yeah, and I love what Jack Flaherty said on Twitter last night. He sent out, in response to that story, absolute joke. I mean, give me a break. Wear the logo. All right, Tim, great to talk with you.
All right, Buster, thank you. I'll talk to you soon. I'm going to go get a paper ticket now.
Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.